everyone, and welcome to the 15th annual Digitas NewFront. My name is Denisha Lomax. I am the SVP and National Paid Social Lead at Digitas, and we are so excited for this panel discussion. We're going to be talking about the Beauty of Blackness, the documentary film chronicling the evolution of Black beauty from the rise, the fall, and the rebirth of the cosmetics brand Fashion Fair. I have the absolute pleasure of working with these brilliant and beautiful people who are sharing the stage with me today. And these are leaders in the beauty and the film space. And truly, they have brought us an amazing film that speaks to my heart as a Black woman. Okay, let's get right into the questions. Candace, the first question we have is for you. Tell us how the idea of capturing the launch of Fashion Fair came about. At what point in the journey did you think about this relaunch and how you thought it would be a great story?
Yeah, I mean, immediately. From the moment we heard that we were partnering with Fashion Fair to relaunch this brand, we knew it would be a great story. And we really wanted to be able to tell the story in long form. We knew that we had to tell it in long form, really in order to do it justice, because a lot of our typical marketing storytelling devices, the things that we had really done in the past, just weren't going to be able to give it the justice and the sort of breadth that we needed to tell the story in depth. Because what we really wanted to get across was the fact that, because we're brand builders at Sephora, we are always looking for brands that have not only amazing products, but amazing stories as well. And this one has an incredible story. It's really the best way to connect with your consumers is to make sure that you're telling, the story behind your brand. And I knew the story for Fashion Fair because I'm a Black woman. It was a part of my upbringing. It's a part of so many of our upbringings as Black women, especially of a certain generation. And we wanted to make sure we brought the story to a new generation because so many of the people don't know it. And the story itself, when we were talking about the beats and what was going to make it so interesting. And, Kiana speaks to this too, because she's, got the creative mind behind it. But it really is this masterclass in brand building, because at a time when there was no blueprint for what she was trying to achieve, Eunice Johnson, who is a Black woman, identified a gap in the market, a consumer with a vital need for the product. And then she used her built-in marketing engine, Ebony and Jet magazines, to build one of the most iconic brands in American history. And now two amazing Black female entrepreneurs, Desiree Rogers and Cheryl Mayberry McKissick, are resurrecting it. And we got to go behind the scenes and tell that whole story and be on that journey with them. I mean, what is not to love about that story? It's a great one.
You are so right. Love everything about it. Shout out to Eunice Johnson. Shout out to Ebony and Jet, staples in every Black household. So thank you for that anecdote. We love to hear it. Okay, Kiana, go a little bit deeper on how you chose the characters, because we really want to have that part kind of come through. And also, if you can, a little bit explain the importance of it being nonfiction. I know that was very, very important here.
Of course. I did touch on it. And so part of the team that I oversee is Epic Stories, which is a team of journalists and reporters who go out and tell nonfiction stories. That is our core. That is what we do best. We normally write pieces that are 30,000 words. We also work with Hollywood to sell a few shows. And so this team of journalists and reporters, we work with brands, and to find those stories, we call it a story hunt, which is we talk to the brand, we figure out what they want, the idea they want to circle around and why it's important. And then we speak to people, we just talk to people and understand what their connection is to the brand, what their story is. And we look for stories that we call home runs. And those are stories that go deeper than the surface level, like, oh, I like this brand, but what's the real reason why you like the brand? Does it bring up memories? Does it connect you to your history? Does it remind you of your parents? Does it, remind you of your first date? And so we take all of that information and really dive into those stories and figure out what are the best ways to weave them together for a compelling narrative. It is a very different experience. So then we had those people, and of course Desiree and Cheryl, who we followed almost every day for months and months and months, and they let me do that, and that was lovely. Everyone that we chose and everyone we picked gave something uniquely different to this story of fashion fair, because fashion fair touched so many people. Yes, it was a cosmetics company, and yes, it was the first cosmetics company, and yes, it was by a Black woman, but it's so much more, right? It was so much. It touched fashion, and it touched business, entrepreneurship, and it touched little children. I won't even say girls, little children who maybe didn't see themselves out in the world, and so we wanted to make sure to hopefully touch upon that with those stories, so that the legacy that we're telling shines through, and luckily Sephora let us run with it, and actually loved every moment of it, and really didn't change a lot of the stories that we pitched forward. Actually didn't change any of them. Really let us go wild, and never once said you should include someone else, really. And that's a testament to them saying, well, we care about the story, and we wanted to tell the story as it is. We don't want to sit there and sway it for our benefit.
Yeah, it's the point about authentic storytelling again, right? Like making sure it's true and real and what it needs to be for the viewer. I also just want to acknowledge your slight flex in the beginning. How many people was it that you managed that are journalists?
I mean, I manage about
Love it, love it. Hot fire on this panel today, y'all. I also just really want to acknowledge the piece on colorism, because for me, as I was watching the film, as you know, I was behind the scenes, but watching it as a consumer, it is so important to be able to truly tell the colorism story that we are actually just starting to crack in this industry. So thank you, yes, Sephora and team for everything y'all brought. Natasha, can you talk to us about what made Ventureland want to be part of this project?
Yes, absolutely. Well, at Ventureland, we had previously collaborated with both Vox and Digitas on another branded entertainment project, which was A Woman's Place for KitchenAid. And we had such a great experience. It was highly collaborative, and it was really successful. So when Vox reached out again to us, we immediately jumped on the opportunity to work with them again. And then Kiana sent through the brief, and I just read through it, and I was immediately fascinated by it. I thought it was such an important story to tell, and one that really needed to be told, actually. Think that shining a light on the inequities that Black women and the Black community at large have faced within the beauty industry was really important. And also, I didn't know the history of Fashion Fair and also the story of Eunice Johnson. So I think that I felt very honored to be a part of being able to tell that story. It really, truly is a comeback story. And actually, I wanted to add as well that, at Ventureland, we're really drawn to telling authentic stories. And in this instance, the brand was intrinsically linked to the actual story. They were sponsoring it, but it wasn't forced. It was just an honest portrayal, which is what I think makes it such a successful piece of branded entertainment.
Love that. It's all about getting those authentic stories out there. And I think this is just another example of the beautiful partnership that can happen between us all. All right, Candace. Sephora does amazing work representing what we like to call marginalized or underrepresented communities, from various people of color to LGBTQ communities. So how was storytelling so important as part of this film, The Beauty of Blackness?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say, first of all, high praise from Natasha. So thank you, about telling authentic stories, because we really wanted to make sure that it was about the brand and about the history and not about us. And that was really, really important to us. And Kiana and Tiffany really immediately got that vision, which we appreciated. And, to your point, Denisha, about underrepresented communities, I really consider them underserved communities too, because there is a whole industry out there that exists, the beauty industry, that has not been serving these communities, has not been serving people that, look like me and look like us for many years. So, our mission really at Sephora has always been to inspire fearlessness in everyone. And so we are constantly working to create a very welcoming, the most welcoming beauty community. And you cannot do that if you don't include everyone in the conversation. Storytelling really brings people together. It creates community. That's why it's so important. And we want to make sure that we are doing that with our work, because as I said before, we love brand stories. And not only do we love them because they are really the heart and soul of your brand and really is what's going to drive that connection with the people who are using your brand, but we are super passionate about, lifting up Black creators, Black founders, entrepreneurs specifically, because there are really people who helped build the industry, the beauty industry, the Eunice Johnsons of the world. They really helped build the beauty industry as we know it, and they very rarely get the credit that they deserve.
School us on the underserved piece, Candace. You are on point, and your mission is very clear. Thank you for underscoring the inclusivity piece as well, because it is so important. Yeah. Okay, Kiana, why tell the story now? Why tell the story now?
Why not tell the story now?
Come on.
Why tell the story now? I mean, it is important to tell the story now because so many of our stories have been taken from us or manipulated or used against us even. And it's important that we don't lose our culture, our piece of that culture, and our impact into society, which year by year is minimized. And it should have been told long ago. As Natasha, she didn't even know of Eunice Johnson, like this amazing woman who went into spaces and places and probably was the only person of color in those spaces. Why wouldn't we have told it sooner? And so we're at a point in our history where I feel as though this country is finally listening to our stories, and not making them traumatic stories, right? Like not inflicting more trauma, but actually giving us praise and due respect. And so that is why the story needs to be told now.
I said, come on and preach. Mic drop, all of the things. Give our people our flowers now. Flowers now. Amen. Love it.
There's a line in the movie where Celeste actually talks about how if Fashion Fair doesn't thrive, history is at stake. And I just love that line that she talks about. It's towards the end of the movie. And she actually talks about, like, if this brand doesn't succeed, other girls might not see the Eunice Johnson story. Girls may not see models that look like them or find shades that work for them and their skin tone. And I think that that's what makes this film actually a film for our children's generation. It's not just history. I think it signifies a future. And there is and I think that when Desiree speaks of the manifesto, there's a line in her manifesto as well that sort of talks to it. And she says, the shapers of today's and tomorrow's. And I think that speaks volumes, honestly. I think that just really feeds into exactly what Kiana was just talking about.
Love it. Well, we know what your two favorite lines were in the movie. If there is one piece of brands who want to tell these type of stories, what would it be?
Sure. I think, and I think we've talked about, how important storytelling is. It really is start with the story and really start with who you are as a brand, what your brand values are, what are the things that you stand for and that you want to make sure that you're getting across, to your consumers. And then is there a story, find a story that can bring all of that to life, without it necessarily being, the authentic part of that is finding a story that can bring all that to life without it feeling like, advertising and feeling like marketing. And that is really important, in finding, that's why finding the right story is really important, is the fact that it speaks to your brand values. It's something that's interesting, that people want to know, that people might not have known. It's something that there might be a teaching moment in there. Somebody can learn something they didn't know. And I think it's also important to find the best format to give that story justice.
We love it. Brand values, format, and telling authentic stories. Natasha, how about you?
I think a lot about the future of branded work and what it means in the industry and how it's changed over the past few years, and it continues to change. And I think people really just want to be entertained, and entertainment comes in many forms now. So if you can bring a brand's stories together in a way that entertains and informs the audience, then I think that's a really good thing. And brands right now have a greater choice of cutting through the marketplace, really engaging with their viewers on an emotional level. And I think if you can help a consumer make an informed decision by the fact that they are really standing behind the companies that they're supporting, and if those companies are engaging them on a social issue or just entertaining them at the same time, it really is a total win when you can combine those two things together. So I actually think brands have a much greater chance of cutting through the marketplace around an important story, and it's that story that stays with the viewer long after they actually just switch off their device.
Love it. Emotional edutainment, like we like to say, and advocacy. This question is definitely at the root of the story of Eunice Johnson and Fashion Fair and everything that we were able to see within the film. What does Black beauty mean to you?
Black beauty to me means choice. Honestly, it means, the freedom to be who we are, to be who we want to be in all of our beauty and all of our glory, to be able to flourish, to be able to experiment, to be able to fail without fear and without fear of retribution, or that, we're going to be the only one. There won't be anybody after us. We're representing our entire people, no matter what we do. And there is, a level of that responsibility that I feel like I have. But I think, for the next generation, for me, I really want them to feel that they have the power of choice, to be who they are, to represent themselves in the way they feel that best represents them, and also to have the opportunities and the products and the marketing, and be able to see themselves in all different forms so that they can choose, how they do want to represent themselves. That to me feels like when we have gotten there, and when we can fully say that, I feel like my sort of dream of Black beauty will have been realized.
Come on, dream of Black beauty, building on the foundation that's already been laid. Choice with selection. We love it. All right, Kiana, you're up. Tell us what Black beauty means to you.
I don't know if I can follow that. I mean, I think about it, it changes day to day, depending on how I feel. But I think that, Black beauty to me really means being okay with being the only one man still shining bright. It means that we are strong enough to show our vulnerability and our beauty and our power, and someone else will see it and love it and also be able to show their beauty and their power. Because I think that for a very long time, our Blackness and our beauty have been stifled and shut down and tried to be smushed out, and the flame in us tried to be crushed. And I think Black beauty means that it will never be crushed, and that we will keep shining bright, and we will show everyone else how to be bright and happy with themselves and to love yourself. And it is a very hard thing to do, to love yourself when everyone else is telling you that you're not good enough. And yet we sit every day and say, well, damn, we're beautiful. Damn, I look good. And so
Girl.
I think no, I think that's what I think. You know, that's how
No,
I feel.
listen. We love it. The flame, the power, the vulnerability. Black beauty is beauty.
Yes,
Candace, Natasha, Kiana, thank you so much. I feel like we could sit here and go on and on. And I know the audiences would love it too, but we are going to close. It has been such a fruitful and real and authentic conversation. The work has started. And there's more to go, but thank you again. And thank you all for joining us at the 2022 Digitas NewFront.